hear people say we don't need this war, but I say there's some things worth fighting for. What about our freedom and this piece of ground? We didn't get to keep them by backing down. They say we don't realize the mess we're getting in. Before you start your preaching, let me ask you this, my friend. Have you forgotten how it felt that day to see your homeland under fire and her people blown away? Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside, going through a living hell. And you say we shouldn't worry about Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? They took all the footage off my TV, said it's too disturbing for you and me.
Okay.
It'll just breed anger. That's what the experts say. If it was up to me, I'd show it every day. Some say this country's just out looking for a fight. Well, after 9/11, man, I'd have to say that's right. Have you forgotten how it felt that day? See your homeland under fire and her people blown away. Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside, going through a living hell. And we vowed to get the ones behind Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? I've been there with the soldiers who've gone away to war. And you can bet that they remember just what they're fighting for. Have you forgotten all the people killed? Yes, some went down like heroes in that Pennsylvania field. Have you forgotten about our Pentagon, all the loved ones that we lost, and those left to carry on? Don't you tell me not to worry about me.
Very happy with Republicans, and she has made it very clear where she stands politically. She has been in office as supervisor for 20 years, 8 years prior to that as a House member, and was a Democrat. And we are looking forward to turning this seat over. And as your state committee woman, I have worked on many of the races that you guys care about over the last 15 years. So I have worked on governor races and Senate races and congressional races. And in fact, I was the president of the Republican Women's Club in 2018 when we had 5 Republicans running for CD15. So I have been down this road before, but never as a candidate. So I ask, number 1, for your prayers. And number 2, I want to take just a moment of privilege and thank my husband, Jay Hannafin. 27 years we've been married. November will be 28, and he has been by my side this entire time, and I could not have done this without him. So, to the candidates in the room, I applaud you. You showed up, you prayed, you decided that it was better with you in the race than without you, and so I applaud you. And as a previous state committee woman, good candidates is what strengthens the party, and so many people get the calling and they shy away because of the tough road that it is. And so I applaud you and I thank you for running. In my personal race, it's been fairly general and not too many, mudslinging and things like that. So I'm very grateful for that. But I just encourage you to press on, and whether you're done in 9 days or if you have to go to November, know that we are behind you and that we care about you and we want you to be successful in whatever you do. Now, what I need from you personally is I need you to pick up the phone and call your closest 30 friends or family who are Polk County voters and ask them to vote for me, because this has been a uphill battle from the very beginning, and some people feel it's safer just to let it stay with the current supervisor. After 15 years of working on campaigns and being in charge of election day operations for the last 2 cycles, I'm here to tell you it is not safer to leave this with her. It is not. And the only way I'm going to win is if you guys help me get out the word that I am a strong candidate. I can do this. I'm ready day one. I'm more prepared today than she was 20 years ago when she took over. I'm ready to get started. I'm not going away either, by the way. If I do not win, I will not call myself a loser. But if I do not win this, I am not going away. Where am I going to be the next 3 months? I'm going to be working. I'm going to be doing election day operations, just like I have the last 2 times. I'm going to be there helping each of our winners proceed and make sure that we are safeguarding Polk elections on November 3rd. So I thank you for this opportunity. And if I didn't get a chance to see you, I do have a website. It's electdebbiehanifin.com. Text me, call me. I will be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much. Here is Ed Shoemaker, our state committee man.
Thank you, Debbie. And I want to just remind everybody, please turn your cell phones off so the ringers don't interrupt anyone when they're speaking. Also, please, I know you want to talk about this and that, but try to please, refraining from having side conversations during the forum, and take the opportunity to network, talk with the candidates between forums at their tables and so forth. Right now, I would like to introduce Pastor Stephen Strader to lead us in prayer, and also stay between these speakers, right, Stephen?
Yeah. Thank you. Welcome to Ignited Church, and don't worry, I'm not going to preach. I might take an offering, but I'm not going to preach. Heavenly Father, I just ask for your peace, your shalom to come upon this meeting and upon the whole campaign. We just ask you to help us to address any divisions and strife. Help us to vote biblical values and principles, and obviously all of us here were pro-life, pro-God, pro-country. And I just ask you, Heavenly Father, to let your peace, your shalom, come into every aspect of this forum today. We bless those that are joining us online, those that are gathered here in the auditorium. And we ask your peace upon every candidate and your favor, that they would have the finances they need, the resources they need to run a righteous campaign. In the name of Jesus, let the people of God say amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Stephen. And before I get to Christopher Bradley to say the pledge, I just want to say thank you to everybody that took the time out on their Saturday to come and attend the Republican Party of Polk County's primary forum, which consists of Republicans that have a Republican candidate. There's some that won't be running until November but we'll talk about that after the primary and get started on that. So I'd like to introduce Christopher Bradley to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Christopher?
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of listening to the national anthem, and it was being sung by a young lady, her name being Sophia. And immediately after hearing her sing the national anthem, I was like on the texting her mom and saying, can she come and sing the national anthem at our event August the 8th? Almost said 18th. So I'm going to introduce to you Sophia, and she's going to lead us in the national anthem.
Broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay. Is everybody ready for the forum? What I'd like to do is go ahead and read the candidate forum rules to begin with. Each candidate will have a 1-minute campaign introduction. Questions will be submitted by the audience on a note card for each respective race and may vary depending on the availability at the discretion of the moderators. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer the question. If a candidate mentions another candidate's name, the candidate will have a 2-minute rebuttal. The estimated questions per race will be 3 questions per race. Again, at the discretion of the moderators and our timekeeper. A yellow warning will be given by our timekeeper when you have 30 seconds remaining and a red warning when time has expired. At the conclusion, each candidate will have 1 minute to provide a campaign summary. I'd like to introduce to you the moderators for today's forum. Polk County Republican Executive Committee Chairman J.C. Martin. Osceola County Republican Executive Committee Chair Mark Cross. And our timekeeper, Robert King. We will start out with asking the Congressional District 9 candidates to make their way to the stage and take their seats.
Okay, I want to welcome all four of you guys to the stage here for Congressional District 9. One thing I can say is I believe that any one of you four would do a much better job than Darren Soto. And we'll go ahead and do a brief introduction. We'll start on this side of the room with Mr. Olson. 1 minute.
Okay. Folks, my name is Bill Olson. I want to tell you a little bit about what motivated me to join this race. About 15 months ago, I was working for Walt Disney at a Walt Disney World. I was a Jungle Cruise skipper, by the way. If you've ever had me out there, by the way, my name is Bill, and I'm your Jungle Cruise skipper. Okay. But I also worked over at the Hall of Presidents. Okay. And I would go in there and introduce the Hall of Presidents, I don't know what, half a dozen to a dozen times a day. And I would sit there and I would watch the audio animatronic Donald Trump do his oath of office. And after I would do that over and over again, it reminded me of the oath that I took, well, almost 40 years ago now, for my first enlistment in the United States Army. That oath was to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's what I'm here to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Christopher Wright.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad I was able to make it. Some of you may know that I'm an active duty member of the Florida National Guard, and I was actually in Tallahassee for the last week because of the pending storm and also helping out with the COVID response. And I know a minute's not a lot of time, so I will direct you to the website, ChristopherWrightForCongress.com, to get a full bio on me. But I wanted to take this minute and let you know that I am grateful for my opportunity to serve, not just my state, but my country. I can tell you my time up at the State Emergency Operations Center gave me a real appreciation for the work that those guys do and the love that they have for our state, for our country, and for the people. And I actually had an opportunity to chat for a few minutes with the governor while I was up there, and he was very optimistic about the state of our state and our ability to be able to get back to normal in the very near future. And so I welcome this opportunity to be able to stand before you and talk to you a little bit about who I am and what I represent. And if you haven't had a chance to see a complete 45-minute debate, well, I would invite you to check out the website and view that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Sergio Ortiz.
Reclaiming my time. My name is Sergio Ortiz. Faith, Family, and Freedom is the motto of my campaign. I'm an ordained minister. I have 9 grandkids, and I'm a father of 3. One of the things that always guides me says that without faith, it's impossible to please God, and that's one of the models in my campaign. Like I said, I'm an ordained minister. I'm not very eloquent, but I have a passion to help you. So, born in Puerto Rico, raised over there, been here in the United States for a long time. Thank you for having me here. Have a blessed day.
Okay, well, thank you. Mr. Jose Castillo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Castillo. One thing you need to know about Florida's District 9 is that we've lost to Democrats. We lost in 2012. We lost in 2014. We lost in 2016. We lost in 2018. We had great candidates. We had Todd Long, Carol Platt, and Mr. Wayne Lemniski. Why did we lose? There's 227,000 Democrats to 155,000 Republicans. Mathematically, to win, we need some of those votes. We need a candidate with broad-based appeal. Our district is the theme park capital of the world. I worked my entire career in the hospitality industry at Disney. Also, our district is almost 40% Hispanic voters. They don't show up in the primary. They will show up in the general election. And if we don't have a Hispanic candidate, they will vote for Darren Soto. I'm a Republican. I want our congressman to be a Republican, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll go ahead and ask the first question, but it's actually going to be several questions. I'm going to direct these to all of you. Raise your right hand if you support the Second Amendment. Okay. Raise your right hand if you're pro-life. Raise your right hand if you believe in a strong military. Raise your right hand if you support tax cuts. Okay, I guess we'll start this question with Jose. Since you guys believe the same things on most of the issues, Jose, what differentiates you from the other 3 gentlemen on the stage?
Republican standpoint, what differentiates me, if you look at all our debates, I would say I'm the most constitutional conservative. We all love this country. We're all Republican. We kind of have similar issues. We have different priorities. I'm the most constitutional conservative in this race. But I'll say this, the main thing that differentiates me from them is that I'm the only one that can actually win this race. You know, we could all be pro-life. Maybe one of us is more religious. Maybe one of us has more money in our campaign account. But we won't be able to win. It won't matter if you're most religious. You know what? We're not going to have a pro-life candidate if Darren Soto wins this election. So I told you, this is the theme park capital of the world. The people that work in the theme parks, in the hotels, the restaurants, the attractions, actually the people that are unemployed right now, and just so you know, I include myself because I work for the Walt Disney Company. I'm in management. I'm unemployed. I understand their struggle. Come November, I'm going to ask for their vote. And they're going to look at me and they're going to know that I'm one of them. They will trust me. They will give me their vote. Furthermore, like I told you, our district is heavily Hispanic. Listen, in our primary, only 23% of the population is Hispanic for Republicans. They're not going to have a big impact on our election here in the primary, but they will show up in the general election. And in the past, I told you we've had great candidates. We had Todd Long, Carol Platt, Wayne Lemniski, great candidates. Mr. Lemniski, he's a veteran. He's an engineer, smart. He's a business owner. He should have been my congressman. But we lost because identity politics plays a major role in elections. I come from the business world, and I'm able to see that. You see, some of my opponents tell me when I talk about identity politics, they say you sound like a Democrat. But the fact of the matter is, from a business perspective, you have to look at the facts and adjust. And if you don't look at them, you lose. And that's why we lost in 2012, 2014, 2016, 2018. But here I am in front of you asking for your vote. I would be honored to have your vote. If you vote for Jose Castillo on August, in November, we will fire Darren Soto. You can take that to the bank. Thank you.
Sergio, the same question.
Listen, what sets me apart? What makes you think about Ortiz when you're looking for a congressman? I have children that I have to take care of. I've been a business owner. I know the struggles that we have. I've worked at churches, so I know the heart of the people. We know that the Hispanic vote is mostly religious people who believe in God. What can I do for that? I can go toe-to-toe with Darren Soto. I might not be the best outspoken, but I know the heart of the people. And once they feel you and they understand where you're going, they will follow you because they're looking for a leader. They're looking for somebody who has the same morals, the same standards, the same beliefs that they have. I don't have a locked out in morals like a gentleman over here explained to me once. But I know one thing. My name is Sergio. My name is servant. It means that in Greek. So I am a servant to the people, and I can stand there and understand what they're looking for. I am able to draw out from within them what we need to change this district from blue to red. I have the capacity, the will, the what with all. I got relationships with a lot of churches who are pivotal because churches move the people to vote. And that's their job. And people out there will listen to you better when they understand what you're saying and you can speak from the heart. I can go to them and explain, especially the Puerto Rican community where I live there. I understand where they come from. So I'm able to draw from them so that they can move over to this side and be part of a productive community. What separates me from them? Like I always tell them, I'm the pretty one. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio. Chris, same question.
We get asked this question a lot, and I think it's a legitimate one. And just like the others have pointed out, policy-wise, there's really not much difference between myself and the other guys standing on the stage. But one thing that does separate us very much, and I think is very much a topic of discussion, or at least should be, is our work experience, our education, our ability to be able to stand in front of people, to be able to connect with them and deliver a cogent message, to be able to take the idea that conservatism and the policies that conservatives espouse raises everybody up from where they are to where they want to be. It gives them the opportunity to be equal in opportunity, not necessarily outcome, but in opportunity. So you've got to be able to take that message and deliver it in such a way that people can see your vision for where you want not just the district but the nation to go, adopt that as theirs, and then help you carry it forward. My work experience as an attorney has trained me to do exactly that. I'm a professional advocate. That's what we do. I spent years of my life studying the law. I spent more of my life in professional practice learning how to take a message for my client and carrying it forward to either a jury or to a judge or even in a boardroom and negotiating a contract. That's what we do. We take messages, we create messages, we adopt them, and we help take that to somebody else and convince them that we're right. We need somebody who's able to do that, because I tell you, Darren can do it. Darren's a polished politician. He's a lawyer. He's very good at it. And we need to take somebody who's got the same education, the same experience and training that he does, and put that person on the stage next to him, because that person is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Darren. That's where you have to fight Darren. It's his ideas, it's his voting record that's going to be on trial this election, not his last name. His last name is not going to get him the vote. It's going to be because he does a better job getting his message out. And yeah, we're in an uphill battle, because our district is largely Democrat, but that doesn't mean we can't win, especially with everything that's going on right now. Law and order is very much a conservative message, and a lot of people are paying attention to that, even on the Democratic side, especially our independent brethren. Something else I'll let you know, how else can you judge a candidate? What differentiates is by what we've done so far. A few weeks ago, I hosted a dinner for 3 Puerto Rican car clubs who helped us with a parade. And they all came out. There might have been 30 people in a room. By the end of the night, all but 2 had changed their registration from Democrat to Republican. I know I can make that connection because I've already done it. And all I need to do is implement it on a grander scale. I know the message resonates because I've already done it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill.
So there's three things that we need to do in order to beat Darren Soto. And in order to differentiate ourselves, all things being equal, we need to have the issues. I think we have the issues. As Republicans, we have that common sense conservative vision on how things need to be. Then you have to be able to articulate it. And then you have to be able to, most importantly, if not the most important, but certainly important, is that you have to be electable. So let's talk about that. Here's the question that we get all the time. And it's not a question that I like to speak a lot about because, quite frankly, it's that dirty little secret that we always keep in the background is how are we going to beat Darren Soto? And that's going to take resources. Now, we talked about, the fellas talked about the people that we had running like Wayne the last two times. You're actually absolutely correct. Wayne was an excellent candidate. But unfortunately, if you look at Wayne's FEC reports, you'll see that he wasn't able to get on the same footing financially with Darren Soto. He wasn't able to get that information out. He was not able to use media, radios. You probably heard me on the radio around here, okay? We had the resources to do that. You have to have resources to be able to get on mass media like Facebook, being able to send ads out to all sorts of people, no matter what color of their skin. You have to be able to do that. You have to be able to send out, I've sent out thousands of cards to people to get that name recognition so that they could see who I am. Okay? So those things, it's one thing to be able to stand in front of folks here like 50 or 60 people, but we have to be able to do more than that. You have to be able to do this, but you also have to be able to use all of that multimedia out there, and you have to have the resources. Now, I've raised over $225,000 so far. Now, don't ask me how it happened because it's just hard work. And it just seems as if the people have responded to my message. Now, some of the guys say that it costs an awful lot of money in order to be able to make that money. And that's true. So we have to understand that there are several things that we have to do in order to be able to be electable. Thank you.
We'll continue in a rotation. Gentlemen, with today's current events, a lot of people, just Joe and Jane Lunchbox on Main Street, are rattled. You know, they're being told, wear a mask, don't leave the house, keep your kids in the basement, keep Uncle Joe in the basement. Well, our president is an optimist, and we've seen this. He's the cheerleader for the country. And as Republicans, we support that. Please explain what you tell voters to contrast yourself with Mr. Soto, who is known to be an automatic vote for Nancy Pelosi, as they try and push their radical ideas down our throats. We're going to rotate. We started Jose last time. Start with Sergio this time and rotate around. Explain your views on how do you contrast yourself to the voter when the voters are just scared out of their wits. Some of them are.
A lot of people are living in fear. They're afraid because of the misinformation that is being poured out. If you take your time to explain to them the complexities and the simplicity of an organism that is smaller than the space that is used in the mask to protect you, and you explain to them that it's a fallacy completely, that the masks, they don't work. It has been proven. If you make your research, it's easy. So you explain to them, yes, if you feel comfortable, go for it. Wear your mask. Be Be comfortable. This is the land where you have the opportunity to do what you want to do. But I can always stand there and say, listen, I don't have a spirit of fear. I have a spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. So with that sound mind, I can stand and tell them, listen, don't be afraid. God got this. It's bigger than all of us. And we have to stand firm in what we believe. That's what faith is, the first word that comes out of my motto. Because we have to have the faith to move out there and move mountains and tell people, do not be afraid. Don't fear. Don't go out there in fear all the time because the devil wants you to be a fear. And that's exactly what I tell them. I'm an ordained minister, and you know what? I tell them how it is. If you don't feel safe, fine, wear your mask. And they will ask me, why don't I wear my mask? Because the God that's in me is powerful than all the devils that wants to stop you from moving forward. Yes, you talk to the clients depending on the level of spirituality, because not all of them believe in God. But I can go back in biology when I went to college and I have my anatomy and physiology, and I can explain to them how organism works, how a simple phospholipid membrane will affect your life, and that you will walk around with a mask thinking that you're fully protected. That's a fallacy. So once I explain to them the numbers, the size, the organism, the mechanism, when I was going for pre-med, and they understand that, then you can find a way of living with it. And the only thing that we could do, and I always tell them, wash your hands and don't sneeze in your hand, and if you feel a little bit sick, stay home. Thank you.
Chris.
So I agree that our president's an optimist, but I think he's got good reason to be. What you tell the people in our district when they express their concerns about everything that's going on with coronavirus is actually one of the things that I learned in trial advocacy is you start asking questions. Some of you guys might have experience trying to convince somebody to move from their position, and it's much harder when you argue with somebody and you say, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. Here's the real facts, and they're going to throw facts back at you. But when you start asking questions, you make them evaluate their own position. Now, you have to be armed with the facts in order to be able to effectively do that. But you start asking people, well, what would I tell you, or what would you say, rather, if I told you that the overall mortality rate is actually going down as cases are going up? What does that say? And you help them come to the conclusion on their own. That's how you help them adopt your position as theirs. You're never going to get anywhere standing in front of somebody and arguing with them face to face. It doesn't work. You have to be able to be strategic in how you ask those questions. Now, I think the president is right to be optimistic. When I met with the governor this past week, he was optimistic about the state of the state and where we're going with COVID and the long-term effect that it's going to have on the state. So having those conversations with our independent friends and even with some of our Democrat friends is how we're going to win the election. And it's not just going to be limited to COVID, but other subjects as well. But the best way to effectively deliver that message is to ask poignant questions. And it's one of the tricks we learned in law school. It's how you help sway juries to your position too. See, all of these things that I learned in law school and I've exercised throughout my professional career are tools that I have to help convince people that a conservative message is the way that we need to go with this country, not just in the district, but the country as a whole. And those are the tools that I'm offering to the people of this district to be able to help deliver that message. So not only is that how you have to do it, but that's why you have to do it. Thank you.
Folks, we need to get the government out of the way. The government, even local governments, have all around the country have taken their own little tyrants. They've made their own little kingdoms and their little fiefdoms. And we need to get the message out to the people, especially here in Central Florida, but that's not the way we do it here. We allow people to decide what they're doing. Now, as far as the coronavirus and the mask, that thing goes back and forth. This week, the WHO says that you're not doing any good by wearing a mask. But then these other people say that that you need to wear a mask. Who knows? Okay? If you go into a store, if it's Publix or Walmart, and they decide that you have to wear a mask, you decide. You have free will. You can decide whether or not you want to wear that mask. And if you don't want to wear it, then you don't shop at that place. If you have a private property, you can do whatever it is that you want to do with your private property. Now, as far as public spaces, of course, be smart. Don't get right up next to someone and start coughing in their face. That's just common courtesy. We need to just remember that we're humans and we sometimes make mistakes. And there are things that happen while we're out and about. We just need to make sure that we remember that there is freedom here in the United States of America. We have the ability to be free. And we cannot allow these local people, and sometimes around the country it's happening, we cannot allow them to, number one, let's say our children go into school. They need to get back to school. They need to get back to school. And thankfully, our governor is not one of those that is trying to take over, and he's allowing the schools to reopen. We have to do it smart, though, okay? We do have to do it smart. But we've got money, the president has said, and the Congress has set money up in order to be able to make the school safer for the kids, and I think that's an important thing. And we've got another stimulus package that if the Democrats will allow it to move forward, if they will negotiate at least a little bit, we'll be able to get that passed also. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. See, the problem we're having in our country is that every time there's a national tragedy, every time there's a crisis, people want to look to the left for big government, for answers. Instead, we should be looking to the right. What does the Constitution say? Let me give you an example. We have police will kill an innocent civilian. Let's defund the police. What does the Constitution say? Well, we the people, we elect our sheriff at the local level. Congress has no say in that. What else? We have coronavirus. What does the government say? You have to wear a mask. You have to close your business. I believe there's no government, not federal, not state, not local, that has the authority to tell you when you should open and close your business or to tell you to wear a mask. What else? We have, let's say, a mass shooting. What do they say? Let's take away your guns. What does the Constitution say? We have a Second Amendment. We have a God-given right to defend ourselves, our property, and our liberty. So what we need is we need to elect elected officials that have the backbone to stand up for our Constitution. But not only that, they need to be cheerleaders. They need to be cheerleaders for freedom and for liberty. Because we just talked about this. We said that people are afraid to leave their homes. But really, people are afraid to speak up. I run into so many people on the campaign trail that tell me, I'm going to vote for President Trump, but I don't want my family to know. I run into so many events. I go, there's a lot of young people. And they tell me, I wish I could like your page, but I don't want to get in trouble at work. So we need to speak up. And we need to elect elected officials that are going to protect the Constitution and be that voice. That's why I intend to do in Congress. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to probably draw this to a close because of the time constraints. But I have one last question for y'all before you give your closing statements. On August the 19th, how many of you will give your word to all of us at the Republican Party that you will support the winner of the primary? Okay, thank you very much. And for closing statements, Mr. Wright, you're next in line. Thank you.
I had no problem giving that promise just because I know that, Mark, you're right. Any person on this stage would do a better job than Darren Soto. I know we have to keep this brief, so I'm not going to give you a recap of the entire campaign or even my bio, but to say this, I'm a soldier. And I understand that when you're going into battle, and this is a battle, it's a battle of ideas, but I'm a soldier, and you take the best weapon you've got available to you. And the tools and the resources that we're going to need to be able to take on Darren Soto's message are those that I've spent my entire professional career developing. And I'm offering the people of this district an opportunity to take their lawyer into their battle. I'm going to be your attorney. I'm going to go to Washington. I will advocate for you because that's what I do. That's what I've been trained to do. It's what I'm good at. Thank you.
Folks, I too am a soldier. I spent 27 years in the United States Army. I spent time in Afghanistan with the Joint Special Operations Command, with the folks in SEAL Team 6 working to try and find Osama bin Laden back in the late 2000s. This is a battle. We have to battle first among our friends. But then we have to really start the fight against Darren Soto. We have to be able to take it to him. And I believe that I have the experience in order to do that. Thank you.
So two of my opponents are soldiers, and I know Mr. Sergio Ortiz, I consider you a soldier for our Lord Jesus Christ. But I will say this, this primary, any of my opponents, they could win the battle in the primary. They will never win the war in the general election against Darren Soto, and that's why I'm here. And I know we're in Lakeland, this is a little bit away from our district, so this is what I have to say to you. If you are in my district, I would be honored to have your vote. If you're not in my district, trust me, when I win this election and I win the general election, I will go to Congress, and if you believe that the Constitution is the law of the land, if you believe that we have a God-given right to defend ourselves, our property, and our liberty, if you believe that America should always come first, I will go to Congress, and I will be voting for you. Thank you.
You might be wondering why I'm standing up next to this gentleman. I believe that a moment like now deserves for us to stand firm in where we're at. No matter the circumstances, how the wind and the storms is blowing, we have to stand firm in what we believe and act accordingly. And I believe that this nation is going to move forward, but we need to have people in the authorities to make it right. So I'm asking all of you, first pray for the president. He needs our prayers. Pray for this nation and keep praying diligently. I will be there for you. I will win this race, and I will defeat Darren Soto at his own game. I might not be articulate or perfect, but I can beat him because I know the people. I know how to draw them out and have a message that they will respond. May the God of all mercy go with you. Thank you for this time and opportunity.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank all four of our great candidates for Congressional District 9. Thank you for coming out today. And we'll have a brief 5-minute recess while the stage is being changed.
Okay, thanks a lot, CD9 candidates. And we'll give it, Robert, if you will give me 3 minutes and hold up the yellow sign, we will get started with our next forum, which is the Congressional District 15 forum. Just give me 3 minutes. Also, just a reminder, guys, Ignited Church has been very gracious in letting us use their facility when we need to. Got great social media capabilities, technology, and so forth. But Paul Hatfield back here is holding a bucket. If you feel to make a love gift offering for the church, please do so to try to help them out. We would really appreciate it. We've got a couple people walking around. I'm going to go ahead and wait for our moderator to get back. He's talking to the Secret Service guys. Mark Cross is the chair for Osceola County, and there's a big event, the bus tour, Trump bus tour coming into Kissimmee on Monday, and he's been coordinating most of the morning with the president's Secret Service team, getting that site ready for the visit. Oh, and by the way, Eric Trump's going to be there. I failed to mention that. So I think you can, probably go to our link on our website. Okay, RSVP on our website. Reminder, if you have a question for Congressional District 15, to submit your index card with the question on the card to one of the young ladies right up here in this third row. Stand, Kelly. Can you stand up? Give your cards to her with the question. One of our moderators is talking to the Secret Service right now, so once he gets back, we'll call the candidates up on the stage for CD 15. Okay, I see JC coming to the finish line. Mark is done with his important call.
Wayne's wanting to reclaim his minutes because they mentioned his name up there several times.
Okay.
He wants to.
Okay, there's an opportunity. I've been told by this gentleman here, Paul Hatfield, there's an opportunity to win a nice chair. So register to win a nice chair. There he is. And I've been told that from the last debate for CD9, that Wayne Lubinsky name was mentioned several times, and he should get a rebuttal statement.
Yeah, I wanted to call rules there. You're right. I was mentioned I should get 12 minutes, shouldn't I? And I could take it all, but I want to wish every candidate here a very good luck in this, because you know it is. I think Debbie mentioned the fact that stepping out there is it's a heavy duty thing. So time. Hey, JC, he gets 2 minutes. Huh?
Okay, I'd like to just go ahead and ask that the candidates for Congressional District 15 take the stage. And I will go ahead and turn it over to the moderators. And please, out of respect for the candidates and the forum, that you take your seats and refrain from any sidebar conversations. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, welcome. This is candidates for Congressional District 15, which is Polk County, Hillsborough County, and a little piece of Lake County. And we have Scott Franklin and Ross Spano. Gentlemen, you each have a minute to introduce yourselves. We'll start with alphabetical order, and the time will start now.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. I'm Scott Franklin. I've lived in Lakeland since 1978. It's been my home. But after graduating Lakeland High School, I attended the United States Naval Academy and then served on active duty as a naval aviator for the following 26 years. I spent 14 years active duty, returned to Lakeland in 2000, and then was recalled active duty twice after 9/11. I've led a business here in Lakeland for the past 20 years, very successfully through all the ups and down times. And 3 years ago, joined the Lakeland City Commission so I could give back more to the community. I have a broad business background, a strong military background, and I understand how our local government works well, which I think is where the government works best, closest to the people. And I will try to stay between the speakers. Thank you.
Mr. Spano.
Thank you. I'm Ross Spano. It is so good to be with you. Thank you, Pastor Schrader, for allowing us to meet here this afternoon at your church. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you for joining us. I'll say three things, the three most important things in my life. And I think if you look at a man or a woman's heart, you know what's important to them. You know what their decision-making process looks like. Number one, the most important thing to me is my God. Number two is my family. And number three is my nation. I've had an opportunity to live in this area my entire life. I'm a fourth-generation Floridian, married with 4 kids and 2 grandchildren. I have actually owned a business until I came to Congress in 2018 for 15 years, a small business, and that's the reason why I ran for the Florida House and why I went to Congress to also fight for small business, to fight for the president, to fight for the Second Amendment, to fight to secure our borders, to fight for our military, and to fight for law and order. I hope to have your continued support. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm Mark Cross. I'm the chairman of Osceola County Republican Party, and I don't have a horse in this race. I've been concentrating on our District 9 candidates, and I don't know a whole lot about either one of you other than I have gotten Congressman Spano's emails before, but then for the past 6 months they've gone into spam for some reason. I guess that's Google or whatever, censoring. But I found out a little bit about you guys through the fake news. And maybe you can tell me with the next couple of questions whether it's fake news or not. I would like to know what you guys each have done to support President Trump over the past several years, and what the source of your funding is for your campaign. Whether it's mostly special interest PACs, whatever. And I'd just like to find out a little bit more about you and your relationship to the president. And I guess we'll start with the congressman.
Sure. I think the best story to be able to illustrate my support for the president is to tell you the story about how I joined about a dozen other Republican members of Congress several months ago to storm the skiff. You remember that? Did you hear that in the news? The Democrats were holding secret meetings in the bowels of the basement. The president's counsel couldn't cross-examine witnesses. The minority party had no idea who the witnesses are going to be until the morning of the hearings. And as a member of the minority party not on the committee, I couldn't even review the transcripts of those that were being asked questions. And so we got sick of it. We heard from you, and I was sick of it too. And we actually got together, we had a news conference, and we walked to that door of the skiff, and we had an opportunity. We walked in. We walked in, and we entered the outside of the room, and we said, look, we don't want to cause problems. You continue to do what you're doing, but we have a right, and our constituents have a right to know what's going on down here, because you're going to ask me to take the second most important vote I'll ever take as a member of Congress, and that is the impeachment of a sitting president, and I have no idea what's going on. So we were threatened with ethics complaints, right? And we sat there for 6 hours until we were forced to go back to the floor because the Democrats put a rape kit funding bill on the agenda that was not there before. But I took heat for that. I was threatened with an ethics complaint. Those are the types of things that I have been willing to do for the president, and I've stood for the president every single step of the way, and I challenge anybody to tell me that I have not, because it's a lie. I have stood with the president and will continue to do that. In terms of my funding sources, it's interesting. The vast majority of my funding is from individual donors right here in the district. Most folks get a lot of money from PACs. I have not. Almost all of my money is from individuals, and individuals right here in the state of Florida. And I think that's important.
Hey, thank you.
Well, as I'd said previously, I've served the last 3 years on the Lakeland City Commission. I have not yet had the opportunity to serve in federal office, but I have stood firmly by the president's side from the very beginning. I supported him in his candidacy for his election in 2016 and still do so today. And some of the votes that we have taken on the Lakeland City Commission have been in unison along the way with the things that the president's pushing from the White House as well. I've made some very difficult decisions that have cost me a lot of lost sleep and have earned a lot of hate mail in the form of standing up against mandatory masks here in the city of Lakeland. And we can get into that a little bit later. But I firmly believe in private responsibility, our personal responsibility to do the right thing. It's not the government's job to keep us healthy. My mother is here today for 5 months. I've not hugged my mother, but she wears her mask faithfully, and I'm glad that she does. I socially distance as I can. If I need to wear a mask, if I feel that's appropriate, I do. But as far as the president goes, and the whole situation with storming the skiff, and it's interesting. I just watched the HBO documentary this past week, The Swamp, in which Congressman Matt Gaetz was very prominently profiled there. If you haven't had a chance to see it, it's a very interesting documentary. But the person who led that storming of the skiff was Congressman Gaetz, who is considered by President Trump to be his fiercest ally in Congress. And I am proud to say that Congressman Gaetz has endorsed my campaign. He came down here last week. We met. I'd been speaking with him throughout the campaign, but he decided to come in. Last week was the time to come into town. We had a press conference. He's doing work on our behalf. Many of you may be getting phone calls this weekend. He told me that he will do everything he can over the next 2 weeks to convince the public in CD15 that President Trump needs the strongest team on the field and that he feels that I'm the right person for that. As for funding, I can tell you that this has been an eye-opener for me. Running for city commission and running for Congress are two different things. And I am proud to say that Until a couple of days ago, I had zero corporate money. I did receive one contribution from the insurance industry that I've been in, but I can tell you out of now $650,000 or so that we've raised since I came into the race in the middle of March, that one contribution is the only one we've had, and better than 95% or more of all that money comes from right here in this district, and they're people that I know personally. All the money that's outside of our district comes from people that I knew in the Navy. So I've not had the benefit of outside help. If you want to go look at the records, they're all publicly there. It takes a lot of money to win a race, and I've also personally funded a lot of this myself. I've been blessed in business to do that, and I have a lot of personal skin in the game because it's that important to me. Thank you.
Gentlemen, while we've mentioned President, questions, what have you done? You're seeking the Republican nomination. You're asking the Republican Party to support you. The question is, what have you done for the Republican Party in the past? And how do you see Republican values as being appropriate for the 15th District? We'll start with Mr. Franklin.
Okay, I have been a lifelong Republican. I cast my first vote when I turned 18. Actually, it was beyond 18, but the first time the election came around for President Ronald Reagan. And since then, I've never voted for a Democrat in my life. And I can proudly say that. In America, traditionally, politics has been about a battle of ideologies, and it's been we Republicans and conservatives have the right ideas, and the liberals and the Democrats are wrong, and it's our job to persuade them. That has changed over time, and I don't see that that's necessarily the situation we're in today as a country. It's no longer just a matter of we agree to the same objectives, but how do we get there? I think we now are fighting against a Democratic Party that is fundamentally different. It's a battle now of do we want to maintain democracy in a republic, or do we want to go down a path to socialism? So, I've supported Republican candidates all my life, I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
What have you done for the party?
Right, and then the other.
How do the values of the Republican Party apply to this district?
Well, in this district and every district across America, this has always traditionally been the land of opportunity, where if you work hard, you obey the rule of law and order, and you can apply yourself and achieve anything you want in our country. But we're now up against really a battle of good versus evil, and whether we actually have a future for our American democracy. I think if Nancy Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the squad and that bunch gets control of all of the Capitol Hill, if the president loses the White House and we lose the Senate and the House is run by Democrats as they are now, we can kiss our republic goodbye. So I think the principles that we stand for as a party have always been the principles that give Americans the opportunity to lift themselves out of their circumstances and build a better life for themselves. Those have been the same since the founding of the party. They're the same now, and they're the same that they will be. And we just have to stand up and fight for them.
So long before I ran for office in 2012, I was actually a member of the Hillsborough County Republican REC. So it's not something that I just got engaged with in terms of grassroots politics when I wanted to run. I was engaged with the party long, long before, because I knew how important it was to be engaged from a grassroots standpoint. So I had been engaged. What I would ask, and I know that my opponent has an opportunity to respond to this, but I am interested. If he's such a strong supporter of Republicans, why is it that he donated to Alex Sink when she was the Democratic nominee against Governor Rick Scott in 2010? I'll leave that there for you. I would say, why is it important for us, why is it important for this community to support Republicans? Because we have the best way forward. We haven't really done a very good job expressing and articulating that to the younger generation. And I'm just as guilty of that as anybody. But you know what? Freedom is always a new idea. And if you can articulate why freedom is the best approach for the youngest generation, they will be Republicans. We've got to do a better job of that. As Mr. Franklin just mentioned, there's a lot of things at stake here. We are at a fork in the road. We're at a fork in the road in our nation's history. Are we going to continue down the road to freedom, or are we going to move toward capitalism and bondage? It's really not oversimplifying it. It really is that simple, okay? So as it relates to the appointment of Supreme Court justices, as it relates to the matter of life, as it relates to the matter of securing of the southern border, as it relates to the matter of international relations with countries like China who have taken us to the bank for the last 20 years. These are issues that as Republicans and conservatives, we had better put our foot down and draw a line in the sand. And if we do that, and we do that well, and we can articulate that message to this next generation around the country, but most certainly here in District 15, then your children and my children and your grandchildren and my grandchildren will have those same freedoms that we've been blessed with. Let's do it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Franklin, you
I would
have
like to
a
respond.
response for
Yes.
the Alex
Yes.
Sink comment.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm glad that's come up because, so here's the reality of the situation. And as a business person, I have made political contributions for the last 20 years or so. I was in business. When I was in the military, I didn't, even though I voted Republican. We were always to stay apolitical, which I did. I served on the board of the Florida Association of Insurance Agents for 3 years, 2008 to 2010 or so. And Alex Sink had been the CFO at the time, and she had been a big adversary, or a big supporter of a lot of things for the financial services industry. She helped us out at times, and Jeff Grady, who is the executive director of the FAIA, had come to our board and said, listen, Alex is running in a primary against another Democrat. We know you guys are all Republicans, but she's asking for our support. I remember very distinctly in Tallahassee, we had a couple-hour board meeting and rolled around about that, and everybody hated it and held their nose and wrote the checks. And I would say, honestly, that's the only time in my life I've ever given a penny to a Democrat. And I even went on record there with Jeff at the time and said, I think this is a bad idea. I have supported, and that was also in the primary, not against Governor Scott in his actual race, in which time I did support him, and I have always. I have multiple letters from him from contributions I've made. I've been with him on a number of occasions. But I guess where I'd want to turn then, this all comes to this effort to paint me as an ever-Trumper. After Sheriff Grady Judd has come out and supported me, Matt Gaetz has done so, I would just want to know from my opponent if he has been such a staunch supporter of President Trump, then why in 2016, when the ballot was cast or ballot was set, and we had Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump on the ticket, he very purposefully decided to not endorse in that race. That was 4 years ago. He could not stand for President Trump at the time. So that would be my rebuttal to that.
Okay, well, thank you, Commissioner Franklin. Congressman, you may respond to.
Thank you. Let me tell you something. I supported President Trump in 2016, and I voted for President Trump in 2016. That was an article in the Tampa Bay Times, which, by the way, has not endorsed me. They've endorsed my opponent. I've never been endorsed by the Tampa Bay Times, not once. You know what? I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I don't ever want the endorsement, and I didn't even talk to their editorial board, right? So, did I support the president? Absolutely, I supported the president. Did I vote for the president? Absolutely, I voted for the president, and I have been a staunch ally since day one, and will continue to be. The proof is in the pudding. Past history demonstrates future performance. And I told you about the issue in the SCIF, the time that we walked in there and were threatened with ethics complaints because we thought we were doing what is right to create transparency. There are a number of other instances in which we did that, and we will continue to do that. So, no one. I'll fight if someone challenges my allegiance to the president.
Well, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Your districts will comprise of 3 counties. So, Commissioner Franklin, if you're elected, and Congressman, if you're reelected, what are your future priorities for the 3-county district?
So, from the very beginning when I ran, as you all know, born and raised in Dover, Plant City area, so I'm from eastern Hillsborough County. But I knew that the seat of the district, the main office for 15th District had been in Lakeland forever. And I knew how important it was to the people of the city of Lakeland that it stay here. And I promised to keep it here. And I've kept my promise. I have spent more time in Polk County. Please don't tell this to people in Hillsborough County. But I've spent more time in Polk County than I have in Hillsborough County. because I wanted to be intentional about building relationships and forging bridges and alliances, and I've done that. I've done that. I promised to fight for small businesses. I promised to fight for veterans. I've done both of those things. And I've promised to fight for transportation. I've done that too. Some of you in the small business community here in Lakeland, you know that tooth and nail I have scratched and clawed the last 6 months to make sure that you all have the ability as small business owners to get access to PPP funding. I'm on the Small Business Committee, the only member of the Florida delegation on the Small Business Committee. I've fought to do that. I've fought on behalf of veterans, fought to keep the Sable Clinic open that was threatened with closure. I fought to get the new VA clinic in Lakeland open sooner when it was said it was going to take 7 years. Dadgummit, you can build a skyscraper in 7 years. It shouldn't take 7 years to get a new VA clinic open. I promised to get funding for transportation, and I was instrumental when that approval for the grant for the runway improvement at Lakeland Nender was sitting on some bureaucrat's desk. I shook the tree and made sure that funding came down in time so that contract with Amazon was not in jeopardy. I promised to do those things. I followed through, and I will continue to do those things. Small business, veterans in our active duty military, and making sure we get allocation for transportation because we're one of the fastest growing districts in the entire country. We have to have the ability to get our fair share of federal funding and fix our transportation problems here in Central Florida.
Okay, first and foremost, my top priority would be getting America back to work. And we are facing an unprecedented challenge to our economy. We've got double-digit unemployment now. We've got to get our Americans back to work, and we've got to do it with sound policies. So that would be my top priority. If you had asked me 6 months ago about that, we didn't even know that was going to be an issue. So things have changed during this time. In this district, and I've been through all corners of it, agriculture still remains a very vital piece of what we do here in Polk County as well as Hillsborough and Lake County. I've met with cattle ranchers, I've met with strawberry growers, I've met with watermelon farmers, and it's essential that we continue the path that President Trump has been on to try to level the field so that we have an opportunity for fair trade in this country. Our farmers and our ranchers have candidly just taken it in the shorts, and we've had a government that hasn't taken care of them. I've talked to the strawberry farmers. We've got $1 billion strawberry industry in Hillsborough County that is in jeopardy of being lost to Mexico. As a free trade capitalist, I was concerned. I love my president and I follow him, but when we first started going into the world of tariffs, I thought, where's my president taking us here? And I understand as we've gotten into this more and you peel the cover back, the dirty deals that we have done as a government with those countries outside of ours that have stacked the deck against our own folks. And we have got to realign these trade agreements. The president's playing hardball. He knows it works. We're finally getting China to come to the table and insisting that they respect the rule of law. And so we have to continue to do that. And I've been hand in hand with these growers, talking with them about what we're going to do and how I will have their backs. As a military guy, I will always support our veterans. And we need to continue to peel back bureaucracy. So that's something that, anything we put in place in government ought to have a sunset on it. And, when you look at these stimulus packages that have come out over the last few months, there have been hundreds of billions of dollars that have been tucked into those things in the name of special interest. I don't know, I'm not naive enough to think that one person can go up there and change the world, but I want to stand in line with the really true hardcore conservatives that are going to change that. We're going to quit spending money like we print it, like there's no end in sight, monopoly money. And we've got to take care of our children's future because we're mortgaging their futures now. And when interest rates do start going back up again, there is no way we're going to be able to cover the tab that we're charging right now. So those will be my priorities. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. We'll go ahead and draw this segment to a close, but I do have one last question for the two of you. On August the 19th, you already know the question. Will the loser endorse the victor in the primary? Can you guys shake hands on that? Thank you very much. We'll have 1 minute closing, and Commissioner first.
I think, as is often said before a big election, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. We've said it before, but I really do mean it now. I think we stand at the precipice of socialism versus democracy. And we cannot allow that to happen on our watch. I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to run for office. I've been blessed tremendously with our business. I don't need to do it, but I worry about the future for my children and my grandchildren that I don't even know yet. But we cannot continue down this path. President Trump needs the strongest team possible. Those are his words. Those are Matt Gaetz's words. Those are Sheriff Grady Judd's words. And I know here in Polk County, those are words that you can trust. Those are the gentlemen that feel that I am the best candidate to have on the team. I'm looking forward to putting the uniform of our country back on and going back into battle on your behalf, and I'd appreciate your support on August 18th. Thank you.
But I just want to thank you again. Thank you to the church, to the pastor, and thank you all for being here. I want to speak to a couple of things that are narratives out there that you may be asking about, and I want to tell you the truth, okay? Because you may be thinking about them, but you didn't get a chance to ask. There's a narrative out there that I did not support the president with respect to the funding for the southern border wall. Nothing could be further from the truth. The bill that is claimed that I voted no on in refusing to spend money for the wall was a $1.4 trillion Democrat appropriation bill, and it did three things. It said, Mr. President, you cannot build the wall in certain locations along the border. You cannot build the wall like you want to build the wall. And guess what? You asked for many billions more, but we're going to give you peanuts. We're going to give you $1.375 billion. And I said, no way. And I was in good company. Matter of fact, Matt Gaetz voted with me on that vote. I've got the support of leadership believes I can win this seat. Kevin McCarthy, Liz Cheney, Steve Scalise. 11 of the 14 Republican members of Florida delegation have supported me. NRA, Gun Owners of America, and on and on. Thank you. I'd love to have the opportunity to win your vote again this term. God bless you and your families. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Good luck to each one of you. God bless you, and we will see you after the 18th. Thank you. Okay, we need questions for House District 42. Okay, we have not had any submissions for questions for House District 42. While we're preparing for House District 42, I'm going to request that one of our Republican candidates, Lori Cunningham, come up and speak to you for a couple of minutes about her race and why it's important for her to be reelected to the Polk County School Board. You got 2 minutes, Lori. Okay.
I'll be quick. Good afternoon. Y'all can do better than that. Come on. Good afternoon. My name is Lori Cunningham, and I am currently the chairman of the Polk County School Board. Thank you. I am running for re-election for District 2, and I would love to ask for your vote. While our vote is nonpartisan in this election, I have been a registered Republican for 30-plus years. So that's why I asked to speak for a few minutes to you today. To give you a little background about my family and my life, my folks, my mom and dad, immigrated here to this wonderful country, the United States of America, after the Second World War. I was born here, but when I started school, I could not speak any English. It took about 2 years with the love of my parents and my teachers to be able to help me, and I was speaking and reading on grade level within 2 years. So I understand the journey. All children can learn. I'm a product of that. So due to my journey, I was able to graduate with high honors from high school. I attended college and received a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering and worked in industry, and then from there was able to start my own business. So I work for all kids. I mentor, I support, I advise in so many facets over the years. I've been married to my husband, Rick, who's in the back there, for 34 years. We have one daughter, Christina, who's with us here today. And so I love what I do. I love children. Education is my passion, and I believe education is economic development. Please cast your vote for Lori Cunningham, School Board District 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. And by the way, we really need to get out there and support our Republican candidates in these nonpartisan races. She's the only Republican running for the school board, okay? And I've been told she's running against a quite liberal candidate. So get out there and vote for Lori for re-election. We still need some questions for House District. Okay, we've got questions, so I'm going to ask the House District 42 candidates to take the stage, please.
Welcome. There we are. House District 42, currently held by Mike LaRosa, who's being termed out. And we now have 4 candidates, 3 of whom are here. We will have a statement at the end from the 4th, who is stuck in Washington, D.C. If you would, in order that you're sitting, you have 1 minute for an introduction. Introduce yourselves, please. Diana?
That's why my husband's the engineer. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your time here today. I know it gets to be a long day. My name is Diana Liebnitzky. I'm running for Florida House 42. My background is in public policy and in working with the legislator through a number of different healthcare initiatives across my career. My current role, I oversee patient safety and risk and all of the outpatient world for our specialists in one of our largest healthcare systems in Central Florida, of which has always been a great honor to work with them. I work very much with people at the front lines every day. I see the best and the worst that life has to give, and in knowing some of the things and the needs of the people at the heart and the depth of the roots, that's what I'm going to bring to this race. Thank you very much.
Dr. Valentin.
Well, thank you very much, and thank the pastor for creating this opportunity to be here before you. I feel right at home. I grew up, I was born and raised in church. At 14, I began studying in seminary. At 25, I graduated with my master's in divinity and began pastoring in the city of New York, and I pastored here for years. So I feel right at home. I'm glad the church is taking time out to be part of this process. We need that. My platform has always been 42 for you. I have a strong belief that this district belongs to you, and that before we can impact nationally, we need to impact locally. So if this district doesn't belong to you, but it belongs to developers, special interests, political PACs, that's what you're going to do at a national level. We need to work for the voters and the constituents here, and we need to make sure that we're meeting their concerns and their needs. My daughters are in public school here. My business is here. I'm ready to work for you on day one with no issues and no concerns to hold me back and represent District 42. Thank you.
Fred.
Good afternoon, I'm Fred Hawkins, and I think it's great that we're in a church because I believe it's the churches that are going to change this and keep the conservative values out there as a nation. So I think it's all of us as Christians do that. I am a Christian, I'm a husband and a father. I'm a 3-time county commissioner in Osceola County, and my private sector job, I have a small business that I run, but I'm also the president of the Osceola Education Foundation. Healthcare, education are going to be 2 top priorities for me, but also economic development. And I look forward to having your support in the primary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, folks. We also have a fourth candidate in the race by the name of Gary Scott. And I talked to him earlier this week, and he wanted to be here, but he's unable to. He's on the crisis, or the COVID crisis task force for the Pentagon, and he's trapped in Washington. He can't leave. So he sends his apologies and regrets, and you've probably seen some kids out at some of the polling locations. I believe those are his kids, and his wife are trying to help him campaign, but he won't be around for anybody to publicly meet him. But he just wanted everybody to know that he is in the race, and he's sorry he can't campaign the way he should. Let me turn my phone on here. We'll start off with a little softball question for y'all. And this time we'll start with Benny. A major part of serving your district is communicating to your constituents. With such a large geographical district located in two different metro markets, how do you plan to interact and communicate to all those constituents when you're elected?
Yes, it is. Polk and Osceola County are very large, very diverse district, and I just happen to live right smack in the middle. So it gives me a good traveling starting point to be able to visit my backyard, which is Polk County, or go a little bit north. My profession is I have a Christian university with different campuses since 2009, and I also get subcontracted by universities and everything. So one of the first things that I've done already is I've authorized the vice president and my board to take over day-to-day operations at the university, and I've canceled all future contracts going forward to make sure that I'm able to travel the district, dedicate full-time, because I believe that although it's part-time physically, but it's a full-time job. So my plan is to spend every single day. And one of my key plans to organize is something that I use in my professional career to be able to implement it here in politics and with my community. It's to be able to hold town hall meetings every month in every town that's part of my district. That's Benson Park, Frostproof, Lake Wells, Indian Estates, St. Cloud, Point Siena, and the parts of Kissimmee. It's not so big that I can't hold one town meeting every single 30 days to let them know that, hey, this is what's going on in Tallahassee. I can meet the voters, listen to their concerns and needs, and interact on a day-to-day basis instead of just waiting for session to be over. When I come down on the weekends, I could do those town hall meetings, and I can interact and reach both sides of the district.
Hello? Okay. You know, it's a great question, but I think it depends on your audience. I think we have to be diverse. We have to look at our youth love their phone, they love their computers. Some middle-aged people are getting more computer savvy and older people, but I think a lot of our constituents want to see you face-to-face. And I know there's legislative aides that attend a lot of meetings, whether it's local government meetings or it's HOAs or it's community meetings, but I want to be the one there. I believe the people want to speak to the one they elect. Take their questions, ask for help, and so that would be a big part of it. So mine would be electronically. I definitely would be having newsletters go out. I would be meeting in person and keeping that schedule, but also having office hours that are convenient both in and around the district, so we can make sure that everybody can, have access to us. I think that's the important part. You're talking about an area right now in Central Florida that a lot of those in the counties to the north are the Democrats. And a lot of those elected officials have already reached out to me saying, you're going to have to be our voice up there because your party's the one in power, and we want to keep that party in power up there. But we also need to make sure we serve our district and all of Central Florida and its needs. But we'll do that with multiple levels of communication, like I said, electronically, in person, using our legislative aides, but also making sure that they see me, the representative. Thank you.
Mass media and social media is definitely an option these days, especially as COVID has really impacted our society so much. In healthcare, we've had to implement and very much hardwire telehealth and those sort of very electronic formats. But the personal touch is the most important thing to really resonate with the people at the front line. That's what I already do now. Both Polk County and Osceola County, currently in my current role, are part of my day-to-day work experience. I know many of the people in the communities. I understand their economics, their issues with their current employment, and the challenges they're having. When you're impacted by health care, you're impacted all the way to the very bottom of everything that you are each and every day. I understand these people, and these are the types of things that I will take to the front lines. Touching people, being present is extremely important. When you're in session, you're working sometimes 18 hours a day. It's a very, very complex process. It's not show up, look good, and go to a few meetings. You are present 18 hours a day. So to promise in the very beginning that you're going to be back having all of these meetings may not necessarily be a fact. So it's different ways of getting out there as well as deploying a team, but having their back right behind them, being accessible by phone and other types of media processes. But one thing I've already done with a few people who are who contact me for a lot of different questions, I have already offered them that when I'm elected, let's do job shadow days. Come up and visit me in Tallahassee. I want to take you around and show you from the inside out what a House of Representative actually really does. Most people don't understand the different levels that you do through your day. I want to take them by the hand, let them see, so they also help to come back to the community and communicate what's going up there in Tallahassee, not just a newsletter, not something that they see out there that's flashy, but they understand from the heart of the matter. That's my goal.
Next question, 3 minutes each. And we'll start with Fred on this one. Florida, under Republican leadership, is a balanced budget state. And we've been blessed with some good leaders in recent years that have left us in sound condition despite everything that's going on when you look at other states begging for $1 trillion to fix their problems over the past couple decades. How do you see us maintaining, as we climb out of this viral dip in our economy, how do you see working on maintaining a balanced budget in Florida, and what are your priorities for spending and keeping taxes under control?
You know, that's probably the question that I think is most important for everybody running for state office. We're going to be called into a special session right away after whoever's sworn in. And I think one thing you got to do, you got to start looking at pet projects. They're going to have to go. You're not going to be able to support pet projects of any member of the House and the Senate. You're going to have to look at state contracts. Which ones can be renegotiated? Which ones can be renewed to cut that cost? You're going to have to make sure we, by law, balance that budget. That's the one thing we're sent to Tallahassee to do. Florida has the 17th or 18th economy in the world. We are one of the most fiscally sound states. We prepared this, and thanks to people like Mike LaRosa that did the job beforehand to make sure we had a strong budget, to a governor who made cuts and got rid of over $1 billion this last time before the budget was due July 1st. We have to keep those sound principles. We're going to have to make sure that we have plans, not just one-year plans. When we talk about education, the lady running for House, I couldn't agree with you more. Education is a huge part of economic development. If we cannot pay the best and brightest to teach our children, we're already failing, and we're going to fail on the level of economic development. So we have to look at what makes sense for Florida, what puts a base in place, continue to support that. It may be a 2 or 3 year plan, and that would be my plan for teachers. Let's make sure that we're funding the long-term teachers also, not just the new ones coming in. If you start looking at that, but most of all, public safety. We have to make sure that Florida, as a state that is welcoming people here, that makes our economy work, we have to make sure they feel safe coming here. We have to do what we can, but we also need to provide protection to our businesses. And I think one of the first things we should pass is a Business Protection Act. For any small business or business out there that is holding by the CDC guidelines, make sure that they're protected against frivolous lawsuits, because that costs all of us money. We need to make sure Florida's safe, welcome people back, get businesses back open, get this economy back on track. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So the facts are that the legislators already have begun looking at our budget for the next term. They've already put in recommendations and challenges and processes in place. This happens before the election for November. These things have already begun. There will be a lot of challenges in our next budget. One of the great things about this wonderful Sunshine State, we've lived so well on three main industries for so many years. The industries of healthcare, which was severely compromised. The industries of ag, which are highly challenged, as we've heard other speakers. And the industries of tourism. Who ever thought Disney would lose $3.5 billion in less than a year? That's impossible if you would have told me this at New Year's. What we have to do is begin to rebuild and innovate new industry, new manufacturing, and bring it here to Florida. But it has to be environmentally clean, environmentally sensitive, and we must protect Florida first and foremost. Because we live on top of the aquifer, the environment is extremely sensitive. I'm grateful for the continued funding of the Everglades projects. That's what I learned about growing up in school. Those were very important. We need to innovate. We need to bring from the what the legislator at the state level does is help to bring in money from the federal level to the state level to flow it to the local level. That's called the rivers and streams of the economics. That's what our role, kind of monkey in the middle, is to do. I'd love to see innovators come in. I'd love to see some grant funding that's significant, not just $100,000. Significant funding for innovators to come in and build businesses here and bring industry that will bring manufacturing. Go to the stores right now. The reason so many shelves are empty, there's no industry happening worldwide. We've got it. We've got the people. We've got the power. Let's bring it home.
Benny.
I think first and foremost, we need to make sure that we're ready on day one. You know, the process is already going where some of the states are starting to open it up. And this election is critical because those that come out elected are those that are going to be there on the front line, day one, facing those challenges. And they need to be able to contribute to those challenges and make sure they make the impact. Right now, we need to make sure that once we cross the threshold of the primary, everybody's ready for that general election and ready to contribute on day one. Then second of all, what of our experiences? What can we contribute as leaders? I'm fortunate enough to have managed Fortune 500 companies for 18 years, revenues of $250 million, staff and employees of over 1,000. I'm able on day one to contribute, to make sure that we follow the philosophy on return on investment when it comes to projects and budgets. Are the projects that are currently being operated, are they returning on our investment? If they're not, do we need to start cutting some of these projects off now before we lose more money? And we need to make sure that we're promoting Florida, that make sure that we're telling the world Florida is open, because Florida is one of the states that has handled the COVID epidemic better than anybody else. Don't let you be fooled by what the media is saying. Florida's been open for business for a while now, and people are starting to get that message. There are a lot of trade shows, conventions. There's a lot of things that are not able to be functioning in other states. We can bring them here. And we need advocates. We need that strong voice. We know somebody that can able to contribute with marketing and promotion and making sure that balanced budget. When I used to operate these companies, anytime I asked for $1 extra over the budget, I had to have a 6-month and a year plan, show the return on investment, and show exactly how I was going to operate it. I would come together with other legislators because I believe that we have a talented field of experienced legislators that we can come up with a plan to make sure to boost the economy in Florida, make sure we tying up the projects that are present. And yes, education. I think that we need to now jump in Florida with innovation. Forget this $15 an hour that the northern states want to present us. You know, we need to make sure that we keep the jobs here, and the only way we're going to keep them is with technology, advance in manufacturing, and make sure that we have our schools preparing that next generation in trade so that we can, bring those companies here, those manufacturing jobs, those technology jobs. So instead of losing jobs, we're creating higher paying jobs that contribute to the economy and contribute to our budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Diana, I'm going to address this next question to you, and you can start us off because you mentioned, medical here in your last. You know, the Democratic leadership in the House, they really want to try to reduce the cost of health care for everybody. And their way of reducing health care cost is to expand Medicaid. Now, what is your position on Medicaid expansion, and what other ideas do you have to reduce the cost of health care?
Medicaid expansion is a very complex issue, and it's a state-by-state issue. You have to actually research and understand how each state is going to do it. When it was previously addressed in the state of Florida, it was matching funds dollar to dollar. The organization I work with is about to embark, and I'm actually one of the leadership of embarking on this new venture for a very significant way of navigating patients through the system. We have a lot of redundancies, a lot of healthcare costs, a lot of repeated tests. We've done a lot of work already with negotiating with Big Pharma on reduction of many pharmaceuticals. We have processes in place. As an example, you know, you might have a $20,000 need for chemo, and you may not have the funds to be able to pay that, so you have a choice. Do you get your chemo, or do you not? Do you just lose everything? And you know, some people unfortunately become very economically challenged that way. We've actually developed relationships with our Big Pharma that they have a zero cost. And actually just one of my patients a few months ago, I was able to get him into that program. There's a lot of ways, there's a lot of community connections that have not been utilized to get patients, all of you, all of us are those patients sometimes. There are resources out there that are funded by government entities that are underserving the people. They're not getting the people there, but they're still sitting around getting the funding. Some of the CEOs are getting large dollars for not providing what they need. So better connection in the community, to summarize it. As far as Medicaid expansion, again, that will be a session to session. You have to research it and understand how it's being done. In this current economy that we're facing, I'm not really sure Medicaid expansion is going good, but I'm going to tell you guys, I see the age group here, one of the biggest things I'm going to fight for is Medicare expansion. I'm facing that, not that far in my future. Many of you already have it. You don't have all of the things that you need. You don't get full payment for your pharmaceuticals, for glasses, for dentures, for hearing aids, the things that my patients face every day. My gosh, they lose their hearing aids. They're out $4,000 usually. These are significant things that the people who built this country need to have first and foremost. Then let's get the rest of the center part of our country back to work, and the Medicaid need issues will lessen as well.
I can be pretty direct. They went her and him, then me.
We've just been going this way, but you're up.
I'm sorry. Okay. I can be pretty direct. I do not support Medicaid expansion. I believe in a free market society with insurance, and just pretty much like Governor Scott had. I think that's the way we go. And you know, I think as far as cutting health care costs, let's talk about tort reform. When we all go drive down the highway, we see the billboards, what this attorney got this person, all that costs us all money, whether it's workman's comp, health care, our property, our casualty insurance. That hurts small business, it hurts all of us as individuals. You may think that, you know, that's good and doesn't affect you, but you look at that just raises the cost. The excessive lawsuits that happen and raising cost of health care, that's the cause right there. So tort reform should be something we should look at there. I've been endorsed already by the Florida Medical Association. Yesterday I was endorsed by the Physician Society of Central Florida. I've had these conversations, we've talked to them. They've told me, you know, what they feel is important. I've answered them before knowing what they felt is important, and I got the endorsement. Healthcare is a big issue that affects all of us, and something else we need to do. Let's keep the telemedicine in place, make sure that it becomes more expandable for that, but also let's get the insurance companies out of deciding what our doctors can provide for us. There's an idea out there right now that's happening. It's called first aid to fail. My opponents have had me talk about this before. Do you realize that if you have a loved one that is sick and needs help, a doctor calls the insurance company to get approval. That insurance company can say, well, we've got this pharmaceutical company that's really been telling us about this new drug. We want you to try this before you use what you want. We cannot have insurance companies making that decision for our health care. If a doctor prescribes it, that's what the insurance company should pay for, so we got to hold them accountable also. Thank you.
I agree that medical expansion is not the answer. It doesn't work. I think if you ask in our communities, The first answer is not I want Medicare and I want Medicaid. I think people want affordable health insurance. I think people want to stand on their own 2 feet and be able to say that, I pay for my own health insurance, but it needs to be something that I could manage and affordable for my wife and for my kids. I think that Governor Ron DeSantis was talking about Canada and renegotiating and making sure maybe we can get some of our drugs from there. And I know that there's a big industry with pharmaceuticals that we can bring into Florida. Instead of just developing homes, let's get some of that manufacturing of pharmaceuticals here, closer by, instead of having to buy from everywhere else, and be able to negotiate some of these prices and bring better balance. I think in the medical field, too, when we're talking about care, I think there's a lot of waste there. I've been battling with my daughter that's had a sickness now for more than 1.5 years, and every time I try to find a new doctor, he's got to run all the same tests the previous doctor did, and a month hasn't even passed by. And then to run certain tests, they have to give a specific diagnosis, meaning that I have to look for a specific doctor. There are a lot of things in the healthcare industry that we need to sit down, and we might need to be able to legislate some new rules and procedures where we can cut the waste and cut a patient running around, so this way those costs are kept at a respectable level and complete the state of Florida. We can't continue just to pay whatever we're going to pay and run blood tests every single time and, do 6 MRIs when already an MRI has been done several times in a 6-month period. I'm battling with a situation where my daughter's just starting to come out of it, and the doctor went on vacation for another 1.5 months. For me to get a new doctor, and I have to wait another 45, 60 days, and he has to get another referral, so I got to go back to the pediatrician to get that referral. There's so many things there that need to be adjusted and reorganize. I come from an island of Puerto Rico that before the economy of Puerto Rico crashed, one of the main industries there was the pharmaceutical companies. And I read an article the other day that part of the restructuring in Puerto Rico is bringing back those pharmaceutical manufacturing jobs to Puerto Rico, giving them the tax break that they need, so this way Puerto Rico's budget can improve and we can get some of those medications at a cheaper cost. This way we can keep costs down. So there's a lot of ideas that we need to sit down, get people experience, get some of the best practices, and I will be there on the forefront, bringing together, having that conversation and not giving up until we're able to make sure that our budget here in Florida is sound, the health costs are maintained down, and that we're working more efficiently.
All righty, we're about to wrap up. I've got a couple of quick questions for you before your closing minute. We have a lot of invasive predators in Florida, whether you're talking about snakes in the Everglades. But on behalf of all your constituents that drive on a Florida road, would each of you support the State Department of Agriculture issuing some type of $1 million prize to the person that cures the love bugs? Whether it's an educational institution or private sector, there should be a prize because of all the damage they do to fix that. I mean, it's an invasive predator. It doesn't belong here in nature. We need to get rid of it. Lastly, will each of you support on August 19th the winner of this primary? Will you shake hands on it? Okay. Okay, final closing statements. 1 minute apiece. And let's see. Benny.
Again, thank you for the opportunity. It's been an honor to be a candidate. There's so many new and unique things that I've learned on the campaign trail. I thought I finished studying, but I guess every day is a new lesson for me. But it's an honor, and I have a better understanding of what government is, what our community is, and a newfound respect for what it is to be able to campaign, to do a job. My campaign mission and statement is close to my heart, in that I've been taught since I was young that if we are leaders in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in our churches, it's to serve others. And it's with that serving heart that my campaign's mission is 42 is for you. It belongs to you. I'm here to work for you. And I'm going to be there day one, boots on the ground, with no controversies, nothing else to worry about, but laser focus on make sure that I work for you, the constituents, the voters of this district. Thank you so much.
So in opening comments, I failed to mention that my family's been in Florida since 1969. My dad was a small businessman in both Polk and Osceola County, and I'm proud of the hard work that he's done. None of my family would ever do what I'm doing. None of them would ever step out and run for public office, but I do have a great support team, and not only family, but a lot of people behind us. And I'm very proud of the campaign we've run. The Republican principles that are important to you and important to me, we've gotten those endorsements. From the NRA to the Florida Right to Life, Business Force, Florida Chamber shows we care about small business. And my commitment, while I have been attacked, I do not believe in attacking fellow Republicans, and I continue will do it. I've never done it in any of my county commission races. Let's save that for the Democrats. But I will take the endorsements I've gotten and money if, unfortunately, I do not win, which I don't think that'll happen, and I will make sure they support either one of these two moving forward, because we're going to keep this seat red. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to all of us today. We really appreciate it. It's definitely something that the community needs to know. For as important as our national races are, our local races and our state races are what really affect you every day in your quality of life. They're the things that really drive the change or the improvement or the sustainability in your area. My tagline is prepared and passionate and fearless. I hope that you've heard from me my passion for the people, all the way at the very, very front lines. That's what I do every day in the service that I provide. I'm always prepared. I'm a policy expert. That's what I've been doing most of my career with both state and federal policies that impact the industry very much. And as far as fearless, I will stand toe-to-toe with anyone to protect this state. I'm one of a few native Floridians, and just like the love bugs, I'm sorry, JC, I would have a little bit of things I'd need to research on $1 million to love bugs. I hear your pain. I will help you with your car wash, but we really have to look at where we serve our money, the metrics that we use, and make sure it goes to the right purpose and process for sustainability. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, our candidates for the 42nd District. We'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll be doing the County Commission. And in the meantime, this is Chairman Cross.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to y'all for just a second or two. I apologize up here. I've been texting and doing a lot of stuff. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we have Eric Trump and the Lieutenant Governor coming to Kissimmee Monday, and the Secret Service was over at headquarters trying to lay everything out. If anyone would like to come over, they're more than welcome to. It'll be Monday at our headquarters. You can look on our Facebook page and get all the details. It's free. It'll be at 12:30. And we're also doing a big dinner on September the 12th. Now, can you all keep a secret? Okay. Well, anybody that's streaming, we need to keep that secret too, because we're planning on Mike LaRosa has been our representative for 8 years. He's term limited, and we're going to honor him at that dinner. And so we're going to try to keep a secret. I'm sure he knows we're going to do something, but we're going to invite his wife and the kids and the people that have made up his office over the past several years. So if anybody would like to come out to that, talk to me, or JC will have the information also. And thank you very much. I get to say one other thing. I think we all ought to give Ed a big hand for putting this together and being the MC today. He's doing a great job. I'm going to have you come down and do that for us.
Okay, don't go anywhere now. We've got a couple of other forums, very important forums, to conduct. County Commission Seat 5 and the State Committee Woman for Polk County Forum. So just hold tight, and in about How long you want to give, JC? About a minute or two, we'll call everybody up. 2 minutes, JC says. 2 minutes. And please, if you have any questions of the other candidates that have already completed their forum, grab them, talk to them during the breaks or after the event today. And I'm told that J.C. Martin has some really interesting closing remarks at the end, so you'll want to stick around for that as well. And we have a raffle on that chair back over there that we'll name the winner of. We got 127 left. Also, right back here, see Christopher Bradley before you leave today. He is a member of our Polk County REC, but he's also circulating a petition for the 2022 ballot to end abortion. So make sure that you put your name, see Christopher Bradley back here. He's one of the up and rising stars of the Republican Party here in Polk County. So make sure you see him, okay? We're waiting for our moderators to get back to the table now. I'm sure Mark is on the phone with the Secret Service, and JC's visiting the water fountain. Yes, he is. There comes a nice cold bottle of water. Two. Yeah. JC says, let's rumble. County Commissioner, seat 5 candidates, if you want to come on up, take your seat on stage, we will get started. There you go. Increase the volume on that. Okay, if the candidates for County Commission seat 5 would make their way to the stage, and let's get ready to rumble, the main event. And make sure you have your cards filled out with a question for the County Commission if you have any. Make sure they get up to the moderators. Here comes Mark. Okay, and then Robert. Okay, guys, it's yours.
We'll have your audience noises down a little bit. Gentlemen, welcome. We start with 1-minute opening statements. Start with you, Mr. Comby.
Well, let me say thanks to Pastor Strader and the family of Ignited Church for allowing us to be here today. I can't see Pastor Strader. These lights are pretty brutal up here. I didn't realize how bad they were till I got here. But thank you all for coming out. Thank you for taking the time out of your Saturday to come and listen to a bunch of folks that are trying to get you to persuade you to follow and give us your vote. And I know there's a lot of things that people can and would probably rather be doing, but I think it says a lot about how much you all care about the process and the kind of government that we are getting and the kind that we're hoping to get. So thank you, JC, thank you, Ed, thank you, Robert, for what you all are doing here making this happen. I was born and raised in Polk County, been here my entire life. As I said yesterday when John and I were together, I'll make my last stand in Polk County. I hope that's a long time off right now because I just got a new grandbaby. Been married 39 years, got 2 sons and now 3 grandchildren. And obviously I'm looking to make a great future for those kids and make sure that Polk County is what it was for me when I was coming up. I fully expect to try to do everything I can to make sure that means to stop.
Yeah.
Robert, I ain't even got warmed up yet. I only got past the grandkids. Thank you.
John?
Is this like soccer? Am I going to have overage time also? I just want to know.
Yeah, we'll just make noise over here.
what the rules are.
We'll let it make noise for a while.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for having us. Pastor, wherever you are out there, thank you for having us. It is great to be in a forum like this. Thank you for allowing me to be your county commissioner for the past 8 years. I appreciate that. Can you hear me now? All right, you can hear me now. All right, I have been in Polk County all of my life. My children and my grandchildren are here. I am not planning on going anywhere for the rest of my life. By God's grace, hopefully I'll be able to be on the county commission for the next 4 years. I think that when we talk about conservative, when we talk about Republicans, if you have to tell someone that you're a conservative, if you're running as a Republican, there's something wrong there. That should be synonymous. They should go hand in hand. So I will not tell you I'm conservative. I will just tell you check my voting record. All right, John Hall, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So since we're switching to Polk County issues, and a lot of us are all here from Polk County, let's have your views on the situation with water and development. If you can cram that into a 3-minute answer, of where we are and where are we going, and see what your views are and if the two of you disagree on any of this. We'll start with John.
Thank you. I have 4 main issues that I talk about anytime I talk to a group, and water is one of them. When I started driving in Polk County, there were just a little over 200,000 people here. We have over 700,000 people here now. There's only so many straws that you can put into the upper Florida aquifer before we run out. So we have actually formed an allegiance. It's a cooperative with all of the municipalities and with SwiftMud and Polk County to start looking for alternative water supplies. We have drilled some lower Florida and aquifer wells in the southeast part of the county. We have tested the water. It can be treated and is drinkable. We're also looking at the possibility of a surface level aquifer, or not aquifer, but reservoir, so that we can capture some water during our rainy season and have it during our dry season. Polk County is going to continue to grow, and we can't grow without water. Up in the northeast section of the county, we have entered into an agreement with Toho Water Management up there, and they are also drilling deep Florida and aquifer wells, and we have agreed to pay 10% of the price of those wells and the treatment of the water if we get 10% of the water. So we'll have another 3.4 million gallons of water up in the northeast for development in that area. And that development does not necessarily mean just residential. It's commercial also. So I think that it's important to know that there's plans in place. We have agreements with all of our municipalities. We're all looking at this because it is a critical supply for our future growth in Polk County. Thank you.
Let me get this thing close to my mouth. I was appointed to the Swift Mud Governing Board by two different governors, Governor Christ, back when he was a Republican, and Governor Bush. And I served there for almost 8 years, served as chairman and vice chairman of the governing board. It's a volunteer position. There was 2 seats, actually 1 seat at the time when I started in Polk County, and then later the legislature added a 2nd seat, so we had 2 members, and that was me and Paul Simp for the years that I was there. The governing board oversees the water use and permits in 16 counties. I can tell you when I first got there, we were in pretty rough shape in the county. Our aquifer levels were terrible. Monitoring wells were, telling a story that we didn't want to hear. But there's some reasons why they have rebounded all over the county and all over the district. A lot of that has to do with the droughts that we were suffered in the 90s and 2000s that really caused big drawdowns on our aquifer. But with citrus greening and with really the fact that so many acres of citrus are now out of production, and with phosphate moving south, the aquifer has made a great rebound. But our future, as far as I'm concerned, and this was what I did when I was at the Water Management District at least twice, and what I want to do again working with the Water Management District, is above ground storage. And I think, whether that's on the very south end of the county or somewhere up the upper piece, that's how we can really meet the needs of Polk County, our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. When you can capture that water, when you get significant rainfall and hold it and use that in dry times and use it for drinking water for potable needs, it's just a wonderful thing. We've done that in the Tampa Bay area on the Tampa Bay water, which was West Coast Regional Water Supply there, and down south at the end of Peace River, we put in a large reservoir there. So I think the future is really better now than it has been in a while, but as far as growth goes, more people probably equals more water use. I understand that. I will tell you the rank and file people in this county who aren't involved in construction think that we're growing too much, that we're growing too fast, that the roads are too crowded. I hear it over and over again. I hear it from people who really pay attention and from people who don't pay a lot of attention, and they think that, we need to throttle back. I think what we need to look at in certain areas of the county is how we allow for density and what we consider compatible. I think the answer to the question is what is compatible is just not whatever the Board of County Commissioners tell you it is. I mean, there needs to be agreement, I think, not only by the Board of County Commissioners and the people in the planning division, but also the homeowners too. And if we continue to approve developments that allow 4 or 5 units per acre, we're going to continue to drive up land prices that really make it difficult for people who may want to live on a half acre or who may want to live on an acre. We make it almost impossible for them to do that. So that's something I'm interested in doing. Thank you, Robert.
Okay, thank you. And Neil, you kind of got into a little bit about my next question that I was going to ask. I'm from Osceola, and Osceola is really that it's experiencing similar things that Polk is in the areas of growth. And like you said, a lot of times people want the commission to cut back on the growth because growth adds to the traffic. And then if you're not fixing the roads and expanding the road system, you end up really deteriorating the quality of life because you're trapped in traffic a lot. What would you folks do on the commission to address the traffic problems in the county?
Well, I think you used a phrase that has been kind of the centerpiece of my campaign since day one, going back to 1988, and that's quality of life. Quality of life is everything to all of us. Is it a good quality of life, an okay quality of life, or a bad quality of life? There's a lot that goes into making up your quality of life. Certainly cost of living is one of those. Commute times are one of those. How close your neighbor's bathroom window is to your living room window is another. And so all these things have to be taken into consideration. I think when it comes to transportation, we went, and I voted for a gas tax back in 1999, I'm not really sure what year. And at that time, we upped the gas tax, but we also lowered property tax as a trade-off, and it wasn't a complete set-off, but it certainly was a gesture on our part that if we're going to ask you to pay gas tax for transportation, we want to give you a break on your property tax. We identified 72 intersections and signalized those intersections and put in turn lanes, and we also had 5 major capacity improvement projects that were, well, one's out the road here, Markham Road, just a little bit away, and Griffin Road down here. Those were expensive projects, but we actually managed to get all those done in the time period, and actually quicker than we thought, and there was money left over, and the Sam Johnson, who came in behind me, called me up and said, we got great news, we got a little money left over, we're going to widen Kathleen Road with that revenue. I know the county recently re-upped that last year, I believe, with no sunset. We actually put a sunset in it, but I think the county last year put the gas tax back in forever and ever and amen. Amen, 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 amen. 25 years? Oh, sunset in 25? Okay. I won't be around in 25, JC. I'm convinced of that. And I'm probably going to get old before I get good at this, reading the clock and stopping when I need to stop. But, yeah, you know, we just have to make sure that we're putting proper resources in there. My idea was always that, you know, gas tax a user fee. If you're not using it, if you're not buying gasoline or diesel, then you're obviously not using the road and you're not paying the tax. That's where I've always wanted to make sure that funding source, the primary funding source, was gasoline tax revenue, and I will continue to do that. But I'm willing to look at other things to try to, you know, meet the need when the time comes and arises. So I hope that answers your question. How about a little applause? Thank you.
John.
Yes. 2 things that you had talked about and we had talked about, and that's development and transportation. Those things go hand in hand. I think that people have property rights, individual property rights, and Polk County is going to continue to grow. We're the 4th largest county in the state in geographic area. We still have 60% of that land mass left buildable. We're between 2 very large metropolitan areas that have higher tax rates than ours. That's why we're growing. Now, we can slow down the growth. All we have to do is raise the taxes. I'm not in favor of that. So I think that when we have people with individual property rights and they want to sell their property, and with greening going on and the groves are not coming back, then subdivisions will be planted and people will come to Polk County. Transportation. Right now we have approximately $400 million in transportation projects that are ongoing. We have the 4-laning of 557 from Lake Alfred to I-4 as an alternate to Highway 27. We had 4-laning of West Pipkin Road from the old Medela Road to Hardin Boulevard, and then 3-laning of that same road from Hardin Boulevard out to Florida Avenue. We have Lake Wilson Road up in the northeast, because that's a very major cut through and it is crowded every day. It's only a mile long and there's a mile length of cars on that road. So those things. In the Poinciana area, we have Cypress Parkway and the Marigold that we're making improvements on. So those roadway projects are underway at present. That's approximately $400 million. Now, we have been working with the Florida Expressway Authority to get the first 2 segments of the Central Polk Parkway approved, and they have agreed to do that. That's $560 million, where it will tie into the toll road that we have currently going around South Lakeland, and it will go, and that's at exit 14, and it will go to Highway 60. Then we'll use 60 for the next segment because it's still not overused. We have a member of the Board of County Commissioners that is on the committee studying the Central Florida Parkway from Lee County up into Polk County to tie into the Polk County Parkway or Central Polk Parkway right there at 60 if that alignment works out. So transportation projects, getting goods, services, people around to jobs and food services. It's underway.
Hey, just real quick, for both of you, do you think growth should pay for itself? No, just a yes or no. You know what?
Growth can't 100% pay for itself, but yes, it should pay its fair share.
This is not a yes or no answer. This is not a yes or no answer. But by the way, tell Mike LaRosa congratulations. He was a great partner and colleague with me for years. The answer is to the extent possible, yes. I mean, I think that's kind of what John said. You know, what pays the bills are commercial properties, industrial properties. Those are the ones that county commissioners, city commissioners love to see because they don't really require a lot in services, and they oftentimes pay a hefty property tax bill, which is really, you know, the big fuel for county government. Homes, unless they cross some threshold, probably in the well above 300,000, you know, they're really not providing much in the terms of net revenue. So, to the extent possible, yes.
You can elaborate if you like, John, just to keep it even.
Thanks, and I will keep it short. Yes, growth needs to pay for itself, but there's things that we get as a benefit from growth, and I'll use Amazon warehousing out on County Line Road. A lot of people think that the county commission shouldn't use tax rebates for businesses to help them relocate or build here. But in that particular case, they're saying, hey, we're losing out on all these taxes. Where they built, and it was a pasture that had an agricultural exemption that had the highest tax rate ever was $194 a year. Now, with Amazon there, their building does get a tax rebate, but the property on the inside does not. So they are paying a whole lot more taxes. So building or growth does pay for itself to the extent possible, but will it ever pay everything? No, because as we get more building, we're going to need more roads. They can't pay for four-laning or putting additional four-laning on I-4, and we need it. But to the extent possible, yes.
This is a wrap-up question. Polk County at one time was the largest citrus producing county in the country. We're big in beef here in Polk County. Development has shrunk the usable acreage, and let's talk about the future. Are we going to go in a direction where agriculture is still an important part of Polk County, or is the farmland just building lots waiting to be used?
Well, when you're talking about agriculture in Polk County, you're talking about the citrus industry. And we've been in the cow business for 5, 6 generations, 7 generations here in the county, and we'll continue to be in the cow business. But right now, being in the cow business means you got something to help keep the weeds down. You know, the cost to produce and the cost or the price you get, you know, to head to a feedlot really is about the same, so there's not a whole lot in that. But citrus has been, you know, our industry, our ag industry for all these years. It doesn't look good. I mean, people are spending huge sums of money trying to build shade houses and, you know, 80 acres, 100 acres. They're spending millions of dollars. You know, heard recently that the university, one of the universities in California, had developed something that they thought was going to take care of the Asian psyllid and that they could lick the greening problem. And if they do, I think you'll see citrus really come back strong. And there's no better county in the state of Florida, period, for growing citrus than Polk County. People years ago moved to South Florida because land was abundant and cheap, and they had to put in ditches and dikes and pumps to be able to successfully grow citrus. But any citrus person who could grow citrus today successfully, their number one choice would be Polk County. So hopefully there's, you know, we'll get to recover some from it, but right now it's a disaster. It made a lot of people in this county wealthy, and it made a lot of people in this county a living for generations until the freezes starting in the late 80s and 90s and now with greening. But I'm hopeful it'll come back. A lot of that land is going to be converted to residential use, and I think when you asked the question, I think you were talking about growth. You were really talking about residential growth. Yeah, I know that, but and I appreciate that question as well. But I think we need to try to look for alternative crops. I don't think there's a lot of viable crops out there. I don't think hemp is going to be our silver bullet that's going to pull ag, out of the doldrums in this county. I think it's really going to go back to citrus, and it's going to require a solution to the greening problem. And I hope that happens. But meanwhile, we'll see residential development that's going to occur on some of that land. It will be lost and lost forever once it, gets subdivided and starts turning into rooftops. It's hard to get it back. So hopefully the fix for the greening will come sooner rather than later.
There are subdivisions where citrus groves used to be, but that goes all the way back into the late 70s. In 1977, we had snow here in Polk County, approximately 2 inches of snow in Polk County in 1977. So, Neil remembers that date. So, it started back then, freezing the groves out, and then for 3 straight years in the 1980s, we had terrible freezes. Groves were just decimated all over the county. And now, you fast forward into the 90s, and the same thing. As a matter of fact, there are citrus plants that were here for decades, and they shut down because the citrus had left. Now, some of that land has been turned into pastures. Some of it has been turned into subdivisions. But we have, I think, a strong agricultural presence, as has been mentioned, in the cattle industry. Most people don't know it, but Florida is, if it hasn't been replaced, the largest cattle producer in the nation. If it has been knocked off of that lofty perch, it's at least second. And the majority of beef in your stores are actually put there by small farms of 50 head of cattle or less. Most people don't even know that. I also am in agriculture. I was up this morning at 6:30. I was out with my father, and we were feeding our cattle. We have 86 head. So we understand the agricultural implications of freezes, of the groves going bad. My father worked in the citrus industry as a supervisor or superintendent for one of the citrus plants in Auburndale. It was Adams Packing, and it's no longer there. So there's going to be some changes. Now, in Polk County, we have a lab that's in the south part of the county that's working on a citrus tree that is going to be resistant to greening. Don't know how far they are as far as being along yet. The last time that I saw any of the plants, they were about 6 inches high. So I don't know if they've got them out in the field and if they are producing and if they are doing what they said they're going to do. But control of the psyllid is actually the biggest issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for coming up here today. We've learned a little bit more. We have a minute for closing statements, and I believe John is first.
As I started, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for allowing me to be your county commissioner for the past 8 years. I worked for the Board of County Commissioners for nearly 35 years before I retired for the specific purpose of running for the board. And I wanted to change over from being a policy implementer to a policy maker. It has been everything that I thought it would be and more. There are things that come to us that are just a myriad of problems that we're expected to solve. But I will tell you, government can't solve all our problems. We're going to have to solve some of them on our own, because a government that's big enough to solve all your problems is big enough to take everything you have. okay? So we just need to have limited government, and I hope to serve the next 4 years as your county commissioner. Thank you.
Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you, organizers. Thank you, Pastor Strader, for allowing us to use the facility. As I said earlier, the things that I worry about are quality of life, cost of living. I think that government should work for the people rather than the people working for the government. I get called frequently asking for help, although I've been gone from the county commission for 16 years, having served there for 16 years, served in the legislature for almost 6 years. People start to rely on you. People look to you for answers, so they call. They're looking for help to try to get through the red tape, the regulatory scheme. They get through the bureaucracy, and it's something that I do frequently, that I enjoy doing it, but I know I'll be more effective doing it as a member of the Board of County Commissioners than somebody sitting in the stands. So again, thank you all for being here, and if you hadn't voted, I would appreciate your vote. Neil Cumbie, District 5. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much, candidates. Wish you both the best of luck. Okay, there you go. An agreement between the two. Okay, as the state committee women make their way up on stage, I'm going to ask Paul Hatfield to come up here, and we're going to draw for the raffle for this beautiful chair. So state committee woman, come on and make your way to the stage. And Chris, would you go ahead and draw a ticket?
If you haven't been over to sign the petition to end abortion, you need to run there now if you haven't done it. Chris here has them, and Chris is going to pick, not my name because it's not in there, he's going to pick the winner of this chair, a Bible, and a styrofoam plane to play with. Mix them up real good, Chris. Don't forget to run there afterwards. All right. Wow. This is pretty cool. Emily Suckley. She won it. All right. You've got the chair, you've got the Bible, and you've got the plane for playing around. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Paul. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic to the moderators, and we'll get started with the state committee women forum. And don't run away now. These ladies have stuck around until this time, and please stick around for J.C. Martin's closing remarks as well. Please, you've stayed this long, so you can surely make it another few minutes.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go ahead and have the opening statements. We'll start with Kat. 1 minute.
Okay. I guess I got to talk fast for 1 minute because I have a lot of stuff that I do. Okay, so here we are. I'm a Marine, a mother, grandmother, a cattlewoman, a small business owner, a Christian, a veterans advocate, pro-Second Amendment, and a proud Republican. And I have extensive grassroots with voter registration, fundraising, etc. I was raised in Polk County since I was 17 years old. I love my county. I love my community. I would like to, I'm not going to take too much of your time real quick because most people already know who I am, and I have literature over there on my table, but all I want to say is that I'm glad to be here today. I respect the ladies that are also here with me, and I thank everybody for letting us be here today, and I would appreciate your vote on August 18th. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Glenda White, running for the state committee position. I'm running because I feel this is a responsible position that must be taken seriously if we're to keep our county Republican and our state and our nation free. I'm an Army veteran, an MBA holder, wife, mother of 3, grandma of 7, and a longtime conservative activist. My first vote as a young girl of 18 was for the great Ronald Reagan. I watched his efforts destroy communism across the world and learned the power of activism and determined effort. I believe strongly that activism is an integral part of being an American. The activist nature of our forefathers resulted in the blessed and unique culture in which we live today, as well as the spread of freedom and prosperity around the world. I'd welcome your vote on August 18th. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Lee Stuckey. I am your current committee woman. I was elected to that spot by the Republican Executive Committee when Debbie Hannafan stepped down to run for Supervisor of Elections. I'm asking for your vote because I feel that my job is not done. I was elected by the Republican Executive Committee, so they showed their support for me. And so I'm hoping that you'll take that and you'll show your support and send me for 4 years. I am not asking for more than that because I believe in term limits, but if you'll give me 4 years to complete what I've started, I would appreciate your vote on August 18th. We are all very similar women, veterans, mothers, etc., business owners. I'm an attorney here with my own practice, and so we have a lot of similarities, except I'm experienced. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm currently chairman of Osceola County Republican Party. I had been state committee man for 8 years, so I know a little bit about the position, and I've been involved with the state party for about 25 years. Now, for the folks that don't know, the state committee man and the committee woman are usually elected by the voters of the county. The chairman is elected by the members of the Republican Executive Committee. And those three people, the chairman, the state committee woman, and the state committee man, are the three people who are the liaisons to the Republican Party of Florida, and they represent Polk County on the state executive committee. And one of the questions I'd like to pose to you ladies tonight, I know Emily has been around for about a year now, being appointed by her executive committee. Glenda and Kat, you have not been on the board, but what do you think in your own mind the purpose of a state committee woman is, and what do you want to do in that position to help out the Republican Party? And I guess it's Glenda's turn.
The job of the state committee person is to grow the Republican ranks first. As you said, Mark, be a liaison between the voting level and the state legislature, and as well find hopefully viable candidates to run for office as Republicans. For me personally, I think it's very important to do all three of those things, and I actually have set several personal goals toward that level if I get this seat. The first thing I would like to do is make the difference between registered Republicans and registered Democrats in Polk County 30,000 over the next 4 years. I think it's very doable because right now we're at about 7,400 ahead. We've been growing rapidly. Our population is growing rapidly, and I've done the math. So if we get to our goal of 10,000 registered voters ahead of Democrats by November 3rd, then we would need to do about an average of 20 per working day over the next 4 years, and we would realize that goal. I'd also like to get on several influential committees in the legislature, because one of the things that's really important to me personally is making Tallahassee more conservative. I really am tired of having to beg and plead with people who run as conservatives to just do conservative voting when they get to Tallahassee. I really want to be an influence as much as I can there and represent the conservative values of Polk County. I still have time, good. I also have a plan to train and work with people that I find as viable candidates at every elected seat. I'm already working on 3 people that I have in mind to run for the 3 seats that are coming up at the Winter Haven City Council. Why am I doing that? Because they have mandated masks for the city of Winter Haven, and they're going to vote on doing it again this week. There is no reason for it. I'm completely against it, and I am over people trying to mom and pop us as far as being citizens. We're grown adults. We can make our own decisions and be responsible, and we've shown that. So I am putting together a training process to help candidates understand what it's going to take to run, to get to know people, know the area that they will cover, and be ready to be a viable candidate. And I've got 3 of those in mind already for April 4th. Thank you.
Okay, Emily.
Okay. The actual duties of the state committee women are enumerated in Rule 11 of the Republican Party of Florida's Rules of Procedure. They're simply 6 duties, and I'm going to tell you what they are really quick because a lot of people really don't know what the state committee woman's job is. First, it's to act as a liaison between the state executive committee and the county executive committee. It's to elect a congressional district chairman who is entitled to vote on the state executive board. It's to serve as at-large members of the county executive committee. It's to assist and cooperate with district chairman, county chairman, and party field directors in promoting seminars, caucuses, and fundraising events. Sharing all correspondence, newsletters, information, bulletins, etc., from the RPOF or other relevant sources, and then directing them to officers and members of the county executive committee. The 6th duty is to fulfill such duties or additional duties and responsibilities as may be requested by the RPOF chairman. So to that end, I'd like to tell you a little bit how I've fulfilled those duties. I act as a liaison between Polk County and the state. And what that means is when I attend every single Republican quarterly meeting, and which this year they had them all over the state, so we had to go here, there. We never knew where we were going, but it was really quite fun because we got to see a lot of Florida. So that's the first and foremost thing you do. You have to attend all the Republican quarterly meetings. And because I have a very good boss, who is myself, I never miss a meeting, and I will never miss a meeting. Some of the other things we don't do as often, like electing a congressional district chairman. But we share our correspondence, and of course JC is very good about sharing correspondence from the state level, so it's not something that we have to do all the time, unless he misses something, which, yeah, it happens. And as far as the other duties, one of the most important is fundraising. And every time we have a clay shoot, I have a base of people that I can go to sponsor tables at any of our events, but they especially like the clay shoot. So I feel like I've fulfilled all the duties of this position. I have the experience to do it. I have spent the last several years developing relationships with people at the state level. It requires diplomacy. It requires an ability to make friendships, maybe with people who don't have all of your, they might not be Christian. Face it, not all Republicans are Christian. They should be, but they're not. But I have developed those relationships to the extent that I was selected by the chairman to be an alternate delegate to the convention. So please elect me again. Thank you.
Kat.
I agree with what my lady friends up here said. One more important thing is that besides being a liaison between the county and the state, we are the eyes and the ears for the citizen of the county. That's very important. No matter whether good or bad, we are the ones they come to about different issues when it comes to say vote. The biggest one is voting registrations. But we're very big on the whole ideas of the voter, doing the voter drives, we man booths, we go to festivals. I mean, we're out there day and night, and that's what's so important. It's because we have to engage with our voters, with the public. We have to be accessible. If they call you or text you, whatever, you need to return those. That's what happens to a lot of our elected officials. Once they're elected, they forget all about the citizens. So you need to be able to reach out and touch us. I've got a lot of years as far as my grassroots with the Republican Party. I was in the 2015, the first Trump campaign. I was the chairwoman for veterans, or deputy director for the whole state of Florida, in which we had veterans that came out to vote 2-1. They hadn't done that since the Ronald Reagan years. But besides that, also, being a veterans advocate, so I am kind of warm and fuzzy with veterans. Veterans is important because they feel like sometimes that they're forgotten about, especially when it comes to voting. But it's not all about the veterans, it's about the people. And the people are the ones out there that we work for. This position is a free position. We do it because we love our community, we love being a Republican, we love making sure that things are done properly as far as, like I said, the biggest one is the voting rights. You know, every day you always see something in news about an issue with voting. So those are very, very important things. So I just like to say thank you so much again for allowing us to be here and say a few words. And it's up to the voters, and I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Kat. And this is a very important position. A lot of people don't realize that. When I ran, I've been on the ballot several times for the position in my county, and the number one question that people ask me is, what is a state committee man or committee woman? What do they do? Some people said they just voted for me because I was first on the ballot. And other people like my name, and you never can tell because it's a very low-key position, and it's very hard to campaign for. But one of the things, and if we can, because we need to get wrapped up, but if you guys can take just maybe 30 seconds, what will you do to grow the party at the precinct level? Because every executive committee has hundreds of positions available for people in those precincts. What would you do personally to try to recruit people to precinct positions? I'm guessing you guys have, about 100 members now, or will? And there's probably 900 vacant spots. Is that correct? 700. And that's nothing against Polk County or the leadership or anything. That happens all over the state. It's normal. What would you do to change that normal in about 30 seconds? And I think we're at Kat this time.
I am a precinct captain in my community in Lake Wells, and I'm very active on social media. It's a very positive tool for me, and I make sure I post things all the time, anything to do with voting or any kind of information whatsoever. And so people reach out to me. As a matter of fact, they're reaching out to me, asking me who to vote for, over our Polk County elections. So that's important, is that you got to be involved with the community. I can't say that, I can't stress that enough. Thank you.
Glenda.
First thing is, yes, I am precinct captain already for 339. And my basic thing would be, of course, social media is an easy way to reach out. But the first thing you really have to do is you have to go and shake hands and talk to people. This is a 4-year position. We have, 167 precincts, I believe. It can be done, and it can be done easily. If you don't go out and create the relationships with people, talk to them about getting involved, help them become passionate, falling in love with the nation again, it can't be done. You have to get personal with people. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'm going to remain seated. I'm recovering from surgery, so I apologize, but I'm starting to lose my breath. Well, what I do is I volunteer in a lot of different areas. I'm a veteran mentor. As an attorney also, I'm always in the court. I'm always out and about. I'm always meeting people. I'm involved in several service groups. And another thing is wherever I go, I talk up the Republican Party. And like they said, social media is very important. I use that. And also, okay, thank you.
Thank you. As a state committee woman, you guys are going to be working very closely with Ed Shoemaker. He won his state committee man race with no opposition, so congratulations, Ed. And you'll also be working with either JC or the next chairman that'll be elected in December. Can you basically unify the party between the three of you? Will you pledge to do that and work really well with the leadership? Because I've seen so many parties in the state that people get in arguments about things and they forget why we exist. We exist to elect Republican candidates. We exist to re-elect Ron DeSantis and President Trump, and we have to be unified to do that. So will the other two candidates support the eventual winner and pledge to help her out? Because this is a very tough job. You don't know what you're getting into, but it is a job. You can make of it what you will. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and as long as you put party first, I think any of you will make a very good state committee woman. So thank you. I'm going to turn this over to JC to close us out.
Half-minute statement from each of you to close this out. Half-minute. Just give us your closing pitch.
Okay. Well, I had it already, and now I don't. I would like to finish what I was saying before, is that a key thing to do is to bring people to the Republican Executive Committee meetings, and that's something I've been committed to doing, and I will continue to do. Please stop by my table. I have a letter that I've written to all my fellow Republicans to tell you a little bit more about myself. And I'm open and free. My phone number is on there, and I'm always available for phone calls. I've been fielding them left and right. Although I can't endorse anyone, I will help you with some of the other races. Thank you very much for coming, and I appreciate your time.
Justin, okay, here we go again. Okay, again, thank you for everybody's support and for taking the time to come out and spend several hours with us today. This is important that you got to meet each of us and shake our hand. Well, social distancing, shake our hands or shake elbows or whatever you can do. So it's really, really important to put the name and the face together. But I think my experience and everybody see me out there and what I do on a daily basis. I mean, this last 4 months has been very traumatic for me. I was in a car accident, and then I got deathly sick with mildew and mold in my house with my husband. So, but you just got to keep on going. So I appreciate your vote on August 18th. Thank you.
I'm an activist. I currently run the Polk County Republican headquarters in Winter Haven. The headquarters is fully staffed, and this election season we've already distributed over 2,000 voter values and information guides, almost 2,000 Trump bumper stickers, and we are approaching 3,000 Trump yard signs. The Republican Party is growing in Polk County. We currently lead Democrats by about 7,400. We can keep growing. As I said, I'm an activist. You can see some of the other efforts I've been involved in on my info card if you'll stop by my table and pick up one. I act on what I believe. Thank you very much. I'd appreciate your vote on August 18th.
Thank you very much, candidates, and I wish all the best of luck and looking forward to working with one of you beginning in December. Thank you. And one thing I want to just pitch real quick, Lakeland headquarters, we need more volunteers there because we're really, really, really getting busy. And I'm going to go ahead, and I want to thank everybody that took their Saturday and took the time to come out here and show support for all the candidates and all the forums and so forth. I think we have a great slate of Republican candidates. Why don't you give a hand to all those candidates? And I'm going to ask J.C. Martin to come up, our chair for the Polk County Republican Party, to close this out. Thank you, J.C.
Let's thank Ed for the wonderful work he did on putting this together. I will be brief. One thing that needs saying, and if you come to any Republican meeting where I'm there, you know what I say. God bless the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, 4 more years. He's earned it. 10 days to the primary, and then it's in the fast lane to November 3rd. We need to get our president reelected. We need a Republican House, a Republican Senate. We need to keep Republicans in the legislature. We need to keep it all and gain some. We know what's at stake. I don't have to regurgitate everything you see is going on now, but our country and our foundation is being attacked. Do what you can. If you have time, volunteer some time. If you don't have time, write a check or make some phone calls. But however you do it, let's all do our part and make America great again. God bless you all for coming. Thank you, Pastor Strader. And I hope to see you again real soon.